Hello and welcome to the Terror Express. We are going to get ghastly and ghostly and talk about all kinds of dark, fun things, including the shadow of Satan. So we have with us today Cara Carter Gubrud. Hello, Cara. How are you? I am so excited to have you here. I have been pacing the floors at work all day long because I've been so excited to get you here and talk about your book that I read in one sitting last night, but we're going to get to that a little bit later. So you are a sensitive and an empath and a psychic. Tell us a little bit about.
I don't like to use the word psychic because but I have had from when I was a child. I know this is going to sound really crazy to people. I dreamt of my brother in his casket from the time I was a little girl. And when I was in 2001, when I was 31 years old, my brother died from AIDS.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Walked into the funeral home. It was the same casket. I was blown away because then it all came back to me. I saw this. I saw one of my closest friends. I had a dream like I was walking behind her husband as he was shooting her and her children to death.
Oh,
A couple
geez.
days later, we found out that he had murdered them on a day we were supposed to be over there for a barbecue. But I dreamt about it a couple of days before, and I thought it was just a night terror. My girlfriend at the time, shook me awake and stuff, and I was just crying. I mean, just tears flowing down my face. And I had talked to my friend Nancy the next day, and everything was fine. And she said, "Are you still coming to the barbecue on Monday?" It was a Memorial Day barbecue. And I said, "Yes." I got sick that day. I got so sick. And as we were getting ready to turn to their house, the pains in my stomach were so bad. I said, I can't go. I got to go home. I thought it was like cramping from my time a month or something. I think it was something keeping me away from there.
So again, what is the significant capabilities of a sensitive and empath?
I can feel other people's pain, angst, and sometimes I take that on myself. Like I can literally make myself sick when something bad is happening to someone else. But I can also feel spirits around when, like, some people don't feel anything. Like my son, I told my son, "Your house is freaking haunted. The damn thing is haunted. I'm telling you." And my son thinks I'm nuts because he doesn't feel that kind of stuff because he's not a sensitive. But his daughter talks to spirits and he just thinks that it's ADHD. But I feel it in his basement. Like there's someone watching me, like there's a shadow behind me. Like I can see a shadow out of the corner of my eye, especially in his one room where he has his like freezer and stuff. And the same thing, like in the room I'm in right now, it doesn't give me as creepy of a feeling as it used to when it had the antique furniture in here, when they were looking at the house. I walked into this room and I felt that.
Maybe there was a conduit somewhere in the furniture. Maybe there was something attached to a piece of furniture that was lingering.
My friend said it was the bed, and there was this beautiful vanity, the old vanities, the wooden ones where it was like one level down and then it went up and it had drawers and had the big oval mirror.
Yeah.
And the stool. They had one of those in here. And my son originally thought, "Well, we want you to move in. Why don't we, we'll buy this furniture or whatever," him and his wife. Thank God they didn't buy the furniture, because my friend looked at the picture. She actually printed it out and said, "Oh my God." She said, "There's something really dark in this room." And she goes, "What did you feel when you went in there?" I said, "I felt like my chest was heavy. Like I just got things on the back of my neck standing up and I just wanted out of there." And she said, "Oh, it's the furniture." She said, "I can feel it. It's the furniture." And she said, "That furniture isn't staying, is it?" And I said, "No." They wanted too much money for it. My son's like, "I'm not paying that. I'm not paying $4,000 for for a bed, a dresser, and a vanity."
When did you realize that you had the abilities of a sensitive?
When I was a little kid. People always talk about deja vu. It happened to me literally, I want to say at least once a week, if not twice a week. I would have these moments, like either if I was at school or I was, fighting with my brothers or something, I would know what they were going to say before they said it because I had seen it before. And my mom always said, that's just deja vu. That's in the family, the granny witches, the little things, a lot of the family has the same abilities, which can be passed down. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I probably, my earliest memory, because I can remember all the way to being 2 years old and being in the very first house that I lived in as a child. We moved out when I was 3. I remember playing with the little girls, the ghosts in the house in the middle of the night. Everyone would be asleep and I would get up and these little girls would be in these beautiful old dresses and these big bows in their hair. And I would be playing with them in the
Come
house.
and play with us, Cara. Forever.
Exactly. But these little girls would call me Susie. I'd hear my name, Susie.
Have you seen them since you left the house, or do you think they were attached to the house
Well,
that you're aware of?
we moved next door. My dad sold the house and we moved next door to my grandparents' building. And of course, they hung out with me there a little bit. I want to say the last time I saw them was probably, I was 4 years old or so. And when we moved into another house that was haunted. Every house I've lived in my entire life has been haunted.
I think it's because you have the ability
Yeah,
to know that they're there.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was different ghosts at the next house. So there was different things. I saw a man on our back staircase in my grandparents' building, and I saw a man up in my grandma's. My grandma lived on the 3rd floor apartment. It was her building, but my grandfather had died before I was born. But I'd see this tall man there. And I think I want to say I told my grandma one night because I was spending the night with her and I was in bed with her because I always slept in her bed. And I think I remember saying something to her about the man standing in the doorway watching us or something. And my grandma
How
said,
did she
it's
react?
probably your grandpa.
Ah, wonderful.
I wasn't scared of whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know if it was him or not. I just remember, these little things come back to you. And I don't even think I even talk to my brothers and sisters about it because most of them, some of them believe in spirits and ghosts, and some of them are like,
You had mentioned before how it was handed down. The ability was handed down, and I had mentioned that my daughter was actually she's a little bit clairvoyant, but she's mostly has sensitive and able to see and understand, communicate a little bit. I also have the ability of being a sensitive, and I can do psychometry. Not as much as when I was younger, but I can still do it. But when my daughter and I are together, it's almost like boom, Wonder Twin powers activate. And we can really, I mean, yeah, it's just like we radiate the strength when we're together that isn't there when we're apart. It's amazing.
yeah, it is.
What's have you ever been asked to read a location?
Have I ever been asked to what?
To read a location? Have any of your friends or people say, hey, there's something weird going on in my house, I'd like you to come over and see if you can tell me what's going on, who this is, what they want, what's happening?
No, because I don't, I honestly, I don't let a lot of people know the things I feel.
Yeah.
Like I said, my son, who is about to walk into the view, like he doesn't believe in that thing. Like I said, he doesn't believe there's any ghosts or anything in his house. He just believes it's an old house. So I don't bring it up a lot. I have actually been somewhere with someone and I'm like, do you feel that? Something like that.
Yeah.
But I've never really given anyone the opportunity to say, hey, can you come over here and see if you feel anything?
Yeah, I relate to that too. I used to tell my ex-wife, do not tell anybody that I can read objects and their histories and the futures, because I don't want to be a circus freak. And then next thing I'll know, I'll have 3 people come up saying, so your ex-wife told me that you can do this. Here's a pill bottle. Tell me where it's been.
Exactly. That's
what the hell are you doing?
yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm just not, I enjoy it for myself. Like I've told my son before, can I have the house blessed by a priest? And he's like, you're nuts. He's like, what are you, crazy? But I've said, your kids have talked about like one of their dolls, Ghost Boy being in their doll.
Mhm.
And Ghost Boy's not really a boy, it's the older man who built this house and died here. But my son thinks it's,
That's not
haunting.
creepy.
Yeah.
That's not creepy.
Well, they took their doll to someone else's house, and so the Ghost Boy hangs out over there. But
So they all see the same ghost boy. They've experienced all this. It's a shared experience.
yeah, well, my granddaughter Quinn likes to talk to walls. Like she'll be looking off, and you have to say her name, and then you have to say her full name, and then you have to like tap her, like, come on, Quinn, what are you doing? And she's
Right.
sitting there like she's talking to someone, but not really making a sound. And I'm like, and one of my friends who's a psychic said that Quinn is talking to the dead, that she's got a psychic ability, and that's why she zones out and does this stuff. And they're like, you can hone that for her and and get her to. And I'm like, I don't know if I would want to do that with her. I mean, they always say that if you do you remember the movie Stir of Echoes?
Oh my God, what a brilliant movie. Yes, that's a good movie.
Yeah, when she opened him up completely because he was like,
Yes.
that scared the crap out of me. I wouldn't want someone to do that or anything with me or my grandkids. That's
Yeah.
that's the stuff
That
of
was absolutely it is. And that was a wonderful example of what could possibly happen if you dabble in it. All
yeah.
right. I cannot contain this any longer. For the listeners and viewers, there is a book called The Shadows of Satan. And I don't even know where to begin with this book. This book was so exciting to read. Tell us a little bit about this book, The Shadows of Satan, and what inspired this amazing story.
I wrote the first probably 15 pages in 2014 after I had gotten out of a really bad relationship. But then I put my computer down for 8 years. I mean, I did not open my computer for 8 years. And when I was talking, when we were doing 13 Fanboy and doing all the promotions and things, and I got to know Deborah, and then I got to know Debbie Duncan through Deborah, everyone was encouraging me, well, pick it back up.
Yeah.
So the beginning of March or the end of February of this year, I opened it for the first time in 8 years. In 2014, I left it. 8 years later, I opened it up, and in less than 3 weeks, I had the book written.
Wow, 3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks. I had the book written, and the only thing I was waiting to publish on was the cover. And the book was, because I had the book done. My goal was to have that book done on my birthday. That was my gift to me. It was going to be cathartic. It was going to be supernatural. I was going to make this book everything, I was going to give this life. And I did. And I got it done on my birthday. And then it took a little over 2 weeks to have it published. And it was just a roller coaster from there.
No, I got my copy of this book on Amazon. Is it available other places? I know Barnes and Noble was something that you had mentioned for some of your other books that I want to also mention.
You can get it on Barnes and Noble online. You can order it and they can they can get it to the store, or you can order it online to be shipped to your house. It's also any gay and lesbian bookstore. You can go in and order it. There's other bookstores, little family bookstores and stuff in different cities. You can go in, they can pull up the title, they can order it for you there too.
The characters of Katie and Mel. Katie was such a relatable character. She was very lovable, and the things that she goes through are hair raising. And I don't know how many times I lost count. There were quite a few times I'm reading now. Mind you, I'm alone in my room. It's it's I started reading this at 11 o'clock at night, and I read this until almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I
Wow.
can't tell you how many times I got goosebumps, chills. It's like the hair stood up all over my body. At one point, it was so severe, it's like I had to rub the chills away because it was so almost bordering painful. Back to Katie. She is a character in this book that endures. She keeps things a secret. She has to carry such heavy luggage, but at the same time, there's all these things going on around her that are like very dark, very menacing, very creepy. And the way that you wove the story around Katie was brutally, but yet subtly beautiful and terrifying. And then you have these other characters that are interwoven with her, and her contrast. I like to contrast characters, and you have a beautiful contrasting character in Mel, who is a driving force in the story that was captivating. And again, I'm going to bleed some of this out because I don't want any spoilers in this, but I do want to talk openly. She was a character that was very early on, one that you knew you're and that you enjoyed because of some of the things that she did.
Yes,
Tell
immediately.
us your inspiration for Katie and Mel. What were they based on?
I was in a toxic relationship, and I think through that toxic relationship, I envisioned writing the characters to just expand and make it even darker than what it was, because toxic relationships are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that spark in me be diminished. Like I said, I stopped writing in 2014 until 2022,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a way for me to get my spark back, to get my, happiness back
Mm-hmm.
in putting everything down in the book. And I mean, of course, there's poetic license. There's it's a fiction. It's a book of fiction,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's pieces of me in it, and that's
Yeah.
probably why Katie is relatable, because there are pieces of me in her.
I started feeling like I was being watched when I was reading it. And I don't know if it's because I was so enveloped in the story and I felt Katie was that relatable that I was starting to experience some of the things. But there was a scene in the book where they're watching,
Yes.
and there's something that happens there that has happened to me in real life. And I thought, okay, this is something that could really happen. And even people who aren't into the paranormal or supernatural, they'd say, oh, it's this or it's that, like it's smoke or whatever. No,
You
no,
can say the word about the
no.
shadow. I don't think it's that big of a, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think it's not going to stop people from going,
The
oh, I
mist.
read the book. But yeah,
Yeah, the mist. When the security guard saw the mist on the security camera, I have seen mist before, and I know that it's a sign of a presence of something that isn't living.
yeah,
So
especially,
that was when I knew that, because up until then it's a wonderful psychological story too. You have to wonder, is this something in her mind? Is this something that's actually around her? Because the depth of the character and the layers of the character that you go through as you're reading, it makes you wonder, hmm, what is the edge of sanity, and has she gone over the edge of sanity, or is this really happening? So when you see that and you get that moment of validation that, okay, this is not all in her mind, this is something that's really going on, what's going to happen next?
see,
So
that's
yes.
what added that psychic link between her and her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother just knew.
Yeah. Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
I wanted her character I wanted people to embrace Katie. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
them to fight for her. I wanted them to say, hey, somebody help her.
Yes.
That was my whole feeling with the character.
What is the most terrifying supernatural event that you have ever experienced in your life?
Okay, I was a little bit of a wild child when I was a teenager, and I was dared to make out with a dude in a mausoleum in a cemetery when we were, when doing the whole 7 minutes of heaven thing in the mausoleum. I swear to God, I saw, how they have the like marble pieces where the crypts are, I swear to God, one moved. I swear it moved. I wanted to pee my pants. I saw this thing move because the flowers in the thing shifted, because they were facing this way. And then I felt it. I saw it move and the flowers shifted the other way. Okay, well, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I would be out of there too.
Yeah.
This usually the same thing that you think of every time you see a mausoleum. I had a similar experience where I was with my friends in a graveyard who I have family buried in. There was a big mausoleum. It wasn't a building that you went into. It was just a wall, a four-sided wall. It was very large, but I remember I was probably about 10 years old and I knocked on this one mausoleum. I did that,
Yeah.
and then I stopped, and then I heard back from the inside of the mausoleum. And now, mind you, this wasn't a small building. This was one that went very large around. So there was no way my friend could have snuck around to the other side and knocked. Plus, how are they going to know that I was going to do that at that moment? Something from inside that mausoleum two-bitted me and finished my knocking. And it was, and I still, when I go to that graveyard to visit my grandmother, my aunt, whoever, I see that mausoleum. I think just steer clear of that mausoleum because somebody's still alive inside there.
Well, I mean, I've had experiences with other mausoleums. I mean, I'm a bit of a mausoleum freak, but
I love them.
there is a mausoleum down here that has actually given me pause and has actually, I mean, my blood pressure has actually risen to hypertension levels. There's one that, the whole story, you go around the mausoleum 3 times and you'll smell roses and stuff. There's one down here that actually does it in Southern Illinois. I can smell it. I can smell it, but it's not roses. It's like fresh verbena, which is not something that you
floral,
hear, especially at a cemetery. But fresh verbena, which is a very odd scent to smell.
Yeah. They say any floral scent is usually a sign that a loved one or someone who's passed away is with you. It's one of the signs that they give. So even if you don't have the ability of seeing or communicating, they're letting you know, hey, I'm here. If you could have dinner with one person who is no longer among the living, who would it be?
There was so much unanswered with my brother, so God, I would love to see him again. But if I was going to go celebrity, I would go all the way back to the first woman who ever ran for president in the United States, Victoria Woodhull.
Would you rather vomit on your hero or have your hero vomit on you?
Vomit on my hero, man, because if someone pukes on me, I'm going to be puking right back anyways.
What will be your legacy?
I want my legacy to be that I overcame a lot and that my granddaughters can look at me and say, Gigi did it all. Gigi got her master's degree when she was in her 30s, or actually 40s. Gigi wrote her first book and published her first book at 52.
Nice.
I want them to say, I can do anything. It may take me a long time, but I can do anything.
Thank you so much for being here. I had such a great time with you. And speaking of all these things that are just so important to me, because of, like I said, I share these passions and these experiences with you. And thank you. And we'll talk soon. Have a wonderful evening. And
thank you.
Don't pay any attention to that man that's been standing behind you through this entire episode that only we can see.
He's just staring.
He's tall, dark, and handsome, by the way.